All right. So can y'all see my screen, which says market keeps shifting?
No.
You cannot see that screen. How about now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So what I wanted to talk about, I mean, how many were, everyone was in the sales meeting, correct? That's on this call, hopefully. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about these slides here, but what we want to start looking at in the rest of this year is I mean, obviously, the market is very vigorous. It's just not as many sales, and we do have a lot more listings. And I don't know, I don't know. I'm taken it by the hairline and the wrinkles around the eyes that I see. Was anyone here back in 2014, 15, 16? Was anyone here then? Yeah. Okay. That was the last time we actually had a few more listings we could take people out to. The last sale I had, or one of the sales I had this year, um, it wound up that we saw 41 properties before they won. We wrote on about three, but when I told them, "Hey, we're on our 41st properties," they looked at me as almost like, "Wait a minute, it's taking us that long?" I said, "Yeah, it's taking us that long." And but they were surprised that we had that many properties to look at. So this is obviously something you want to talk with your buyers about. It's now great to have that buyer seminar, talk about financing. And I have been slow lately to come back around to the buyer seminar for myself. Maybe Scott and Mitch, you guys can back me up on this, and Christine probably too. But once we get through the cycle of like almost a generation, there's a whole group that doesn't know anything about financing, how the transaction works, all of that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe this is something I should like at least do a video on and promote that to not to a lot of first time buyers and stuff like that. They still make up about 35 to 40% of the market as far as buyers in this area is concerned. So when you talk about what do I look at and how can I explain charts to people, this is where I think you want to look at um, what because I like doing these charts. I think y'all like to use them, and then you post them, and then the question then is, what do I say to people? So this is a couple of things. I would use this chart here, for instance, for both buyers and sellers. There's almost every chart you can use for both buyers and sellers. And so when I look at this, or when y'all look at this, what do y'all see here? Who wants to take a stab at what you would say, let's say to a seller? What would you tell a seller? Everybody jump in at one time. Are y'all still there?
I guess I would say again.
Yes.
I guess I
Okay.
would say those who dropped before selling either had a condition situation that needed to be improved to get the dollars they want, or was overpriced, or something along that line. Those that didn't do not drop have the right price for the condition and what's the competitive market look like.
Right. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Got
I
another?
think that also when that happened, I always tell my clients that the buyer has spoken and nothing that we can do. We don't want to see that. I mean, we are going
Mhm.
to keep the house on the market for, you know, many times more. So once the buyer spoke, then we have to make
Mhm.
an adjustment.
Right. That's a really good point. That's actually a very, very good point. I know it used to be when we were in a Uber buyer market and like right after the short sales, we would put in 25 brochures and and then the word to the seller was when those disappear, let me know and I'll get you some new flyers. But we knew if after 25 people got through the property, you need to change your price. regardless if it was a 100-day market or a 50-day market, 25 buyers walked through and no one wrote on it, you got to change your price. We also look at days on market, but if I'm having no one look at it, that's a different story. So the discussion I would have with a seller is like, look, don't feel like you're the only one that may have to bring your property down on price. Now, this doesn't mean, this chart right here doesn't mean that because the orange here didn't drop their price before they got a contract. And that's what this is saying. I dropped my 41% dropped their price and then they got a contract. 59% did not drop their price and they got a contract. But the orange doesn't mean they got 100%. And that's what we're going to be, more of these charts are going to mean. So I would use this chart with a seller to prepare them in this marketplace that they may face the possibility we're going to have a price improvement before we even get an offer written. Okay. But also
Anthony,
yeah, go ahead.
So I was in on Becca's listing presentation yesterday,
Yes.
and she really did a good thing that she had a conversation related to condition and price, that the two of them went hand in hand. And I think that right now some sellers are, well, why do I need to put more money into the property? Because look what's selling. And then she had a very good statement that said, well, I'll be more than happy to sell in this condition, but I just need to tell you that condition and price are out of whack here. So
Yeah.
I think that was really to me, that was like very pertinent that she told that to them. No uncertain terms. I'm telling you need to do this. You don't do that, then I just want to know that we've had that conversation.
And Mitch, I think it's a really good point is we can't be afraid of saying this to people. And when you say it, you need to say it with authority. And I'm sure Becca and Mitch, and I don't see my list of who's on the podcast right now, whatever this is right now, but anyone else, do you feel like, well, we might need to consider a price change, but whatever you want to do, you're in control? Or are you saying, look, this is not going to move at this price? Hear the difference? That's the difference. And so you have to look at this number and say, last year at this time, that green was almost non-existent. Nearly everything was selling. It was selling at the price. They might have got under list price before they went to closing, but they were all getting their price. They were getting contracts. Let's put it that way. They were getting contracts. Okay. So that's where how I would talk as far as this one is concerned. Now this chart shows after they drop, because this has been the big question from everybody, and this is probably going to work for us for a couple of months. We might be able to keep this slide going till August. Mm-hmm. And it is only Fairfax, okay? But even though it's only Fairfax is the largest market and tells us a story on what's happening. So we can talk with Fairfax and what's that? Yeah. And so I think with Fairfax, the market's so large that you can talk with
it's the best barometer of
yeah, it is, because it's the largest one. When you're talking to Alexandria, it's like what, 300, 400 properties. Yeah. So here we're talking 1,270 or 1,700, something like that. And so because of that, I can say, well, in the market, because it's easier for me to put this together county by county than it is to try to do the whole area. But after dropping, they still dropped. Look at that. 41% dropped their price before getting an offer. And then after they dropped, 79% sell for less than the price they dropped to. Everyone get that? Make sure you understand that. That what they got is not necessarily mean that was the final drop on their price. How many dropped? 41% dropped. Of that 41%, 79 came down again. Okay.
That's the crux of our market right now.
Yes.
It's houses are sitting longer, and there's too many of them to say, well, they're all lesser quality, poor presentation, overpriced. The challenge is this a situation where you have to wait until a buyer in this longer decision cycle that we are having, mm-hmm. that they are interested in the house and they're probably going to offer less. So you negotiate off that price, or are you trying to drive action by a price reduction? But will that actually generate a buyer that wouldn't occur otherwise? And are you setting yourself for lower net? That's the challenge in the big picture that we as agents have. And that's why
Exactly.
it's good to be a high quality professional, because people need us on the sell side more than ever with this market that we have right now.
Yeah. So what we got here, Mr. and Ms. Wisnowski, there's a 41% chance, 4 out of 10 chance that you're going to have to bring your price down, 2 out of 5. All right, before we get an offer. Now, let me warn you, once we come down, there's an 80% chance that you're going to come down even a little bit more. So I need you to be ready to do that, or we've got to condition this puppy so we're in the 59%. So that's how you have to look at this. People are not willing to walk in now, give you top dollar. And even though prices are adjusting right now, folks, this is historically top dollar. Oh no, I lost $50,000. No, you bought it for $450 and we had to come down from $995 to $945. You didn't lose $50,000.
Anthony,
Yes.
I'd like to add, it's Anya. I'd like to add that we have to be very careful about having these conversations with sellers that are still unrealistic. Because if we tell them that, hey, most properties are, having price reductions, just like based on the first, this one, then they say, well, let's price a high. If we're going to get lower, let's just price a high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because what they're looking, well, and this is where, when you look at your pool of buyers and sellers, has the pool gotten this message yet? I got a buyer referral, and I hate it when they started out with, we have an agent that's having a license problem, so we need to find another agent. Will you match her rebate? That's their whole thing. I think they're first time buyers. They're looking for something around 350. They don't know what they don't know. They think right now, and Anya, I'm getting to your point. They think right now the only way they can get money is through the buyer agent. They haven't caught on yet with the shift in this market. Okay. Same is true for sellers. But the other piece that can happen with sellers
put in
is that
the address
somebody needs to mute.
Just type in, cancel the first set of directions.
Somebody needs to mute. Somebody needs to mute.
Emma.
When this talking. Yeah. Mute. Thank you. All right. And so when they're looking at when you know that there's a shift in the market, there's one group of clients that hasn't caught up with them yet. Everyone knows now that, okay, the market on the seller side, the market has shifted and we need to do something different. Maybe I want to keep trying to sell it for the same price as last time. And then they want like 3, 4, 5 other agents after it's been on the market for 30 days to find out if their price is right. Well, it's an obvious thing. And that's where you got to say confidently, no, your price isn't right. It would have sold. I was helping one of our agents change a price on a $2+ million. And I said, the only thing on this property is the price. And I went and saw some other properties. There's some other agents that are in la la land that let them price the way they did. It's like, so even some of the agents don't get it. But when the buyers don't understand and it isn't a shift, you got to have that discussion with them that, hey, let's look at what we can do here to get money from the table for you. Get some of your money back. Remember, the buyers bring all the money to the table. Let's get some of that money back for you to get closing costs or to get some support for me to get my compensation. But the after the drop does not mean you're done with your drop. You may come down $25,000 and then you may have to come down again. So that's the discussion on these two right here. Now, those that did not drop, so I'm at $1 million and I did not have to adjust my price to get an offer. That's what I'm talking about. We didn't adjust our price. Well, 25% got right at their price. They got their $1 million. 49% got over $1 million. And the ones that, and 26% got less than the $1 million price. Of the ones that did not have to drop their price first. Okay. So what do I have here now? Maybe I should have put this all together. 41% to begin with didn't get it. Right. And then another 26% didn't get their price either of the ones that stayed. So now that's not 67%. That's 25% of this 59. What would that be? Somebody fast, 6, 12%.
15-ish.
Yeah, 15%-ish. Yeah. So 15 and 26, that's about 41% are selling for under. Yeah, Scott, I should have put one together on that one to explain it. So 41% had to come down once they got a contract of everything that was on there. Okay. So that's how I would explain that. Say, okay, Mr. and Ms. Johnson, just because those who drop have to drop again doesn't mean that just because we priced it right that you're going to be okay. About a 50% chance of those who do price right get their price. 26% don't get their price, and 49% are going over, 25% are getting at their price, and 26% are going less than their price once they hit where that value needs to be to begin with. Okay.
You know, Anthony, I think the challenge for a lot of agents is our recent past. We've never had to think that much about getting an offer or negotiated under the list price. And that's not the norm. That wasn't the norm until we got into, COVID and immediate aftermath. Getting 99% of your list price was market beating in the 5 years leading up to the spring of 2020.
Yeah.
And, getting your price right does not mean, oh, I get 100% of that.
Yeah.
You're trying to set up, hey, we may be back to it, 99% market.
Right.
Writ large.
So when you guys are going to look at a community, let's do a zip code here. Okay. Let's do 22042. Right. And I'm going to share my screen here so you guys can watch me get where I'm going.
So what I'm hearing, Anthony, is that it's like a little kid playing ball. If you catch the ball, great. If you don't, you're going to end up chasing the ball down the hill.
Oh gosh, yeah. That's a good example. That's a great example. You know, when your kids are outside, if they have to go chase a ball, once it hits that hill, what are they going to do now? The ball's in advance. They're not. They're going to be chasing that totally. All right, so what these are is when you're doing a particular area and you want to give what's going on with the marketplace. Okay. The only way you can find out where's the market headed is you go the last 30 days. Because if they've closed in the last 30 days, what does that mean? When did it come on the market?
With our data now, that could be 2 months ago. Or
60 to 90 days before.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have in all of 22042, golly, man, look at that. Only 33 sales, only 33 properties sold. Okay. Now, here's a quick run on this when you're talking about, I got a quick meeting. What do? I highlight them all and I click results. All right. The results stats. This is the report. So when you're talking about what I need to do as far as having that discussion with them, this is the overall number. Total listings, the average is 99. The average list to sold price is 99.95%. Okay. And so you see on the right side here, close to list price. Okay. You're seeing that they're all roughly 98 to 100%. There's one that's 102%. There's one at 107. So this is what's telling you what's going on with the market. Now, that's that report. But let me show you what I also do here. And this is very vital. See these arrows here, these icon arrows? This is where I pick up the information when they say, well, what's happening with the ones that are not getting their asking price. So I just highlight these green ones, which are showing me they got less than asking price. So what have I done now? I've highlighted the green, right? And I hit this result stat again. And I'm going to get a new report because right now it looks like, oh, it's 99.9%. No, what it really is on these solds is 97.03%. So they're getting 3% less than their asking price once they hit the price where it needs to be. Okay. Any questions on how I got that information? And on a zip code area, it's not laborious. When I give you a whole county, it takes a couple hours for me to put that together.
So the other thing to look
you saw
at,
how quickly I just did it.
yeah, the other thing to look at is the average and median days on market. So look,
Yeah.
you're looking at a month on those solds.
On these that dropped, that got less, they were on the market for 30 days.
Anthony, can you go back to you highlighted the one out of the 33 properties, you highlighted the ones that had a price drop,
Yes.
and then you just went to so the ones that have a price drop.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm gonna
let's
click this. And this icon is now you can pull this icon in any report, by the way. They finally put that in there. So I've highlighted all of them, and under the actions tab, I click results tab, and that calculates a report for me right away. Now I'm going to point something out here real quick. On this report, this is the average. Don't use this median.
No.
That median's wrong. I've got to talk with them about that and see what's going on. The days on market is accurate. The minimum is 7. The average is 30. The median is 26. But this median list of sold price is incorrect. Because on the last report I just pulled up, they had 107 on there, and that was not the median if you put this all in it. Okay.
Any idea why that is?
I don't know. I'm not sure why why it's being pulled that way. Now look what else I got here. This is very valuable. In all of 22042, for houses that had to drop their price, only one gave money back to the seller. On the other report, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of 33. So that's 30% are giving sellers selling closing costs as a concession to the buyer. Again, another sign of what this means to the consumer. So when you get a piece of paper like this and you're laying this out in front of your client, let me show you what's going on in 22042, Bob and Betty. Right now, we're on the average, we're getting 99.95% of list to ask price. Oh,
Hey,
that's
Anthony?
great. Yes.
I have a question. I'm curious how hard it would be to take that data and understand the brokerages that those agents are at, to understand if there's any sort of pattern in like education around
That's
that.
a
You
good
know,
idea.
sometimes like in specific trainings, different brokerages will focus on different things. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
Properties.
Well, Keller Williams only
Mhm.
has like in this group. All right, very quickly. Here we go. Compass, they have no price reduction. Corcoran has 1. EXP has 2. KW has 2 as a brand.
But I mean for concessions, or I mean for seller subsidy.
For seller subsidy.
Yeah.
Okay. The challenge is I can't pull that in right here. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
They won't let us pull that in. So I have to go over to this report.
You'd have to
see
like
the-
manually
I
figure it
have to
out.
go
Okay.
look up, well, what are all, but I can do it by toggling between these
I'm just
two.
curious if it's more of a mindset and obviously the agents have to be offering this as a strategy, right? So I'm just curious if there's more of a mindset in this particular place where that's a strategy that's being talked about more often.
Mhm.
Well, we also don't know if those concessions, what they relate to.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
that's
I mean,
true. Yeah, it could have been that it went to compensation, but
Yeah.
right now, all I'm looking at is, hey, they got buyer compensation because that's what we're labeling it in the MLS.
Right.
So I'm like, look how many got it. in this zip code in the last 30 days, 30% of the sellers, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 9 out of 33. Help me out. Is that 30%?
9 out of 33.
Real close.
0.3 times
Just
33.
under.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just-
9.
it's
That's 30%.
20,
Not
28,
3%.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So 30%. So folks, when you're talking with your buyers and sellers, again, this dialogue is, hey, it's getting more positive to buyers. Yes, we're still getting 99.95% of list to ask price, but you know what? 30% of sellers are letting buyers keep some of their own money at the table.
Now,
Let's
you know
talk
what's-
and see how we can make that work for you.
You know what's really interesting about this one? Look at just leave it there. Don't scroll.
Okay.
So you've got 4 concessions showing, and 3 of the 4 that are high dollar value were on the market 2 and 3 days.
Oh, wow.
That's-
That's a good pickup.
that's-
I didn't even look at that.
That's weird, and those numbers are such that it makes me wonder if it's compensation.
Could
Because
be.
anyway, I mean, I don't think that's all that.
Look at these.
Yeah,
up
that
here.
only you and I would
See,
be
this
interested in
one,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff. But
And I mean, from our perspective, right, of understanding agent mindset. Yeah.
But these are all that's a really good catch, man. Look at all these. All these are like less than 7 days on the market.
Yeah.
And these are all closed. These are all
One of-
closed here, folks. These are done. Wow. So
I mean, that's what
an
it used to
interesting-
be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Back in
used
the
to be.
day,
Yeah.
buyers were willing to pay more, or even in the multiple offer situations, buyers were willing to pay a little bit more, but there were most of them. I mean, there was a huge percentage of buyers that were asking for closing costs.
Right.
And Scott had a good point. Can we go back to the report? Because the one of them that was listed at 800,000,
Yeah.
do 3%, it came out to 24,150, which equals the compensation number. So it's really, that is, so the second one, sorry. So then when that's 805, if you take 3%, you end up at 24,150.
Yeah.
So could it be that people are putting that number in the wrong place? That it
It's
should
not
be in-
wrong. It's the way that they're just deciding to negotiate.
Okay.
I mean, they could be saying, here's what goes back to the buyer. And then they just flow it over with the broker letter to the
Right.
title company to switch it over.
But Scott was right. That number happens to be, I believe, compensation, so.
It looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which we can't really track that anymore. All right. So that's 22042 Falls Church. So I want to show you what happens when you switch to another area. Okay. Go ahead and put this in broker level. And let's
Can you
do the
search?
same.
Can you search Kingstowne, like 22315?
Yeah, I can. But what I want to show is this is a slower market right now, and show you what happens here. And I'll do Kingstowne. Okay. This report's great, folks. You can narrow this down to, I want to do a report on houses with 2-car garages versus houses without 2-car garages.
Yep.
I mean, you can do that type of thing. I'm just doing a big wide swath here. So here we are in McLean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 45. So only 20% are getting closing cost assistance. The other one was 30%. And what's the zip code for Kingstowne?
22315.
Yeah, 22. Does that spill over to 10 a little bit?
To where?
Does it also
Yeah,
take in 10?
Probably does a little bit, but this is going to get
Yeah.
most of it, I think.
All right, let's just do the 37 here. All right. Wow, look at all these greens here. But let's just immediately take that and take a look at who's getting closing cost compensation here. This is Kingstowne. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 37. Only about 20%. So that Falls Church area, at least for the last 30 days, we're getting more of that. And so I think this is just something that when you get these tables and these charts, what I wanted to impress on you is how to talk to this data. I don't just hand people these pieces of paper. I've highlighted it. I've made sure they see what I've got. I might have this report in 3 different formats. One is by price, one is by square footage, and one is by tax assessment. And then I highlight it and we talk to the points. And then when you're talking about, can you all see this chart?
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to just say, when you're talking to these chart pieces, how to have the discussion, how to make a chart turn into a meaningful discussion with a buyer and a seller. So any other questions on this?
You know, that report is probably the best single document that we can create through Bright.
Which one?
The one that you're just showing, that the price analysis report.
Yeah.
But the other thing to want to point out to folks is, can you scroll down the last page where it just has it'll have average and median days on market. So I think it was 8 or 6 and 15.
Yeah.
So when you've got a spread that much, think about anything that gets over a week is going to have a lot more, the average of those houses, which is 50% of that. So that's 18, 19 is going to have quite a bit more days on market than 15.
Yeah.
So when you're all looking at median and average days on market, when you've got that big of a spread, realize that that's 50% are going to be much higher than that 15 to get a 15 average.
Right. And when you're talking about information like that, look at this as well. When we talk about umbrella look at the market, like what I have on those slides, that is so umbrella. That's 30,000 feet. Okay. This is almost rubber hits the road now. So when I pull this report out and say, oh, wow, look at this closing cost of the concession, this concession averages 77.90. Well, not really. That is 7790 based on all of these closing costs divided by 37. Okay. So what I would tell people is, look, you have a chance here that you're going to do some closing cost concession here. All right. And this is where what I have to do when I do this is do it manually. Mm-hmm. And what I do then is I look at, what do I have here? I have 3, 8, 30, 40, 50, 55, 65. I got $65,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $65,000 divided by 6, excuse me.
A little over 10.
The average is actually 10,000 if you're going to do buyer concession, seller concession. So there's a 20% chance in Kingstowne that you'll have a seller concession, and that average is $10,000. That's the way to explain it. That's also the way to come across as what the heck you're talking about, and you're not just throwing out a bright number. Okay.
Anthony, did you say there's a 20% chance that there would be a seller concession?
Yes, this is Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
We have 6 properties that gave seller concession, and 6 is roughly 20%, 15 to 20% of the number in the last 30 days.
Okay.
So, and it's always a moving target.
Yeah.
And when the market slows a little bit, then you got a few things. The first thing I look for is seller subsidy. That's actually what I look for first. Are buyers now getting seller subsidy? Excuse me. I look for the other chart, price, what's coming down, and then, price adjustment. The smart buyer agent will get their people to give them a full price and get them cash back at the table. It's the same for the seller. It's huge for the buyer.
Yeah.
To just get 20 grand off of a house and get no closing cost assessment, 20 closing costs. It's because the only difference is going to be the payment of $20,000 over 30 years for a buyer. That's the only difference you're talking about. Whereas if I said, look, we'll give you the full price of $799, but I want you to pay $20,000 for closing costs for my buyer. Now the buyer has actually saved $20,000 out of their bank. That's a bigger difference. But I do look for prices. We're down at 99, 98, 97% of list price. More homes are dropping their price. This is the next thing that starts popping up is seller's concession. Okay. And that's how to talk that through with both parties. look, we got a 20% chance here. We can get you some concession. Let's do that instead of trying to get the price down. And particularly if the house has been on the market a while. I mean, this one came down $10,000. You know what? I would have asked for 10 grand. Give them what they want at 785.
Right.
Yeah, and also Anthony, I'd be
Old
curious to
Lion
see.
Lane.
I'd be curious to see how this is going to affect buyer broker compensations. I think we're going to start seeing 3% back in play.
Yeah, we're already seeing that happen. Now
Yep.
that's interesting. See, this came down 10 grand, but Bold Lion Lane started out at 795. So it's actually 20,000 off. And that's that report I gave you before about what's the real list of sold price. When they come down, when 41% are coming down and then they actually go under contract, that's actually 41% of this original list price. Okay. See, I mean, look at this one. They were at 1.3. Well, not that one so much. I was looking at the tax assessment. Yeah. So what you have to look at to really see if that market's turning, when they say this is 99% or 98%, what was it of the original list price? Anyway, these are the things to talk with about that. All right, very quickly, before we wrap up here, I want to, I've sent you these slides and
Thank you.
what's that?
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
you're
was
welcome.
about to ask you that.
Sure. So I just sent those out this morning. And what I would like to make sure that we start doing now is we go to Facebook or whatever yours is, and I'm going to do a posting here. I'm going to bring in a photo. And so I'm going to put in one of these puppies here. How many sell for more? How many drop their prices? I'm going to put how many sell for more. Let's put that one in there. Okay. This is what you can do with the slide that I sent you. Most sellers. Oh, no, that's not a good one. I'm not going to do that one. Okay. How many drop their prices? Here we go. More than half of sellers do not drop their price before getting an offer, but they may still have to adjust to sell their homes. Want to talk more about it? Call or text me. Now, here's what we want to really start doing, folks. We want to start creating a buzz that we are making things happen, which we are. You know, we're very, look at that. KWUnited, that hashtag, we have 11,000 posts in Facebook. All right. So that's going to be there. It's also going to be, I'm going to put Anthony Carr Associates, and I'm going to do Market Nova Real Estate. There's 115,000 posts on that one. In your posting, when you pop something in like this, boom, done, add to your post. And then I say public, I'm going to keep it public. And then I'm going to post that. This is something I just want you to start doing. Look how quickly that was done for you. All right. I've got you the slides, and don't roll all these slides out at one time. Okay.
Can I add something, Anthony?
Yeah.
So the other day I had an image that I wanted to, and I was like blanking on a caption, like something short and sweet for Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And I uploaded the image into ChatGPT and asked it to write me like a 1 to 3 sentence caption for social media and like some hashtags, and it was perfect. And it was literally just copy and paste.
Yeah. That's it. Now, I'm in Anthony Carr Realtor. This is my business page. I am now going to share this to groups.
Yep.
Okay. This is the community I live in. Market is still active. but it is in stabilizing mode. Let's talk.
Yeah, that's a good language there because people are going to say, what the hell is stabilizing mode mean?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. See, I'm doing Bristow, Virginia, because that is where I'm posting this. I'm posting this in that neighborhood in Bristow, Virginia. So if you guys were like doing Kingstowne, you would want to do Kingstowne. There you go. Ooh. There you go. 5,000 plus posts. So you'd pop that down here if you're doing this in Kingstowne, but I'm not doing it in Kingstowne because what happens is people will go here and go look up what's going on in Kingstowne, what's going on in Falls Church. So here's how this looks when you do, well, what's going on in Kingstowne? There it is. Now all the posts on Facebook that are in Kingstowne come up. Okay. That's how this works.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a bunch of real estate. Okay.
Yeah.
We realtors are very good at this. But putting the hashtag there, if people want to see what's going on in the community, that's how that works. So I gave you the graphic. You pop it in there. You say something, and don't worry, you're not stealing from me. I mean, my gosh, we all have different tribes here. Okay, most of you, I don't know of anyone who got crossover with me. So take what I put out there and pop it into your own community. But start doing KWUnited because KWUnited is kind of like what I would call the forest, and we're the trees. So all of us as trees, if we join together, our postings are going to get a lot more distribution, and it's going to market us as what we know it is the place to be for your business. Any questions on that? Yeah.
No, but I have another question, see if I may.
Yeah. Okay.
I send an offer. My question here is, do you see that there are two questions? I want you to answer me the first one. Do you see changes between the market in April in compare with the one right now in July?
Yeah.
As far as which part of it? I mean,
well, now I'm gonna go to my really question is,
yeah.
I send an offer, and I know that Tim from, what is the name of the guy that gave us a coach, the amazing class that we had? His name is Tim, and he's the listing agent that just sold one property around the house that I'm gonna buy.
Tim Pearson?
Yeah. So I send the offer, like based on around this, the property that has been sold around in the past 2 to 3 weeks. And the listing agent sent me an email with 5 comparables, but most of them are from April.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on where you are. I mean, like, for instance, let's take Springfield 22153, 22152.
Oh, you can take like 2 to 1. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
those
sorry.
are like the most resilient zip codes in our whole Northern Virginia area. Even when the market was short sale, that Springfield market kept going on. So the other market you might be writing in from April to now, it might still be moving along. So I think you have to do that. And then part of it is a debate. And just remember, they're trying to, they're supporting their seller and you're supporting your buyer on that. But is there a difference in the market? Obviously. I had another discussion with an agent this morning, and y'all know today is the drop the shoe day for State Department, right? On a reduction in force. Yep. So when you look at the areas that are inside the Beltway, they may have been having a little bit less activity for people waiting for the news today. I just skimmed the article. I'm not quite exactly those that are more involved in it. Was this the day they were announcing whether they were allowed to have a RIF? Or is this the day they let everyone know? I missed that part of the article. Anyone knows?
No.
But either way, but what happens is is that they are going to once the people get the news they're supposed to get, there'll be a releasing of that market. I think it was like we've got, I think 3,000 State Department employees in this area. And once they get their notice of what's going to be happening with them, a lot of them are going to start releasing and going and buying and renting and selling. So I say that to your question because it depends on right now, and this will probably be through the rest of this year, what's going on Capitol Hill.
Well, I mean, that happened
Yeah.
always something in Capitol Hill. I mean, we cannot always rely on that.
Yeah, well, with this one though, it's a little bit different because it's it's
Yeah.
about people losing jobs. I mean, we
I
got
know.
Capitol Hill and all that stuff, but right now we've all been hearing the word, I gotta wait to see if I still have my position. And for contractors, I gotta wait and see if I still got my contract. So with that said,
Well, just bring it back, just, with my client.
yeah.
He is a VA and he is very stable on his finances. So he can 100% buy the house with no problem at all.
Yeah.
And in any case, is from the listing perspective that when he sent me the comparables are like, for example, comparables like this comparable has like walkout basement, an amazing patio, stone patio that his listing doesn't, and stuff like that. And I just wanna be sure how I'm gonna respond to this one because even though he said that my offer is like insulting, he sent me a counter offer.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's insulting, he shouldn't send a counter offer, right?
Yeah.
He just said nothing.
Just send a counter offer. So when you look at like what zip code was that in?
22015.
Okay.
Giovanna, were there no other comparable houses that sold since April?
There are, but he didn't send it.
Yeah. So
I'm preparing to send those ones.
That's as soon as somebody does that, it's like, okay, I'll accept your premise of let's look at comps.
Yeah, you want to dance? Let's dance.
Yeah, we're going to look at the more recent comps, and thank you very much.
So here you go. So this is NAR RPR charts. And,
share your screen, Anthony. We can't.
Sorry about that. Come on, y'all. Can't you read my mind?
Well, actually, I could read your screen off the glasses. So
thank you. All right, here we go. All right, now y'all know that there's this, I don't know if it's new tool or what, but new to me, that now there is under research, you can do the residential market trends. And I put in the zip code, whoops, I just 22015, Burke. This is it. Bang.
22032, you can put if you want. It's Burke as well. 22032.
22 what?
22032 is Burke. Even though it's Fairfax, but it is into the.
Okay, well, is the property in 22032?
No, it's in 22015.
Okay, well, I'm going to stick with 15. So what you can do here is you go and you look at 111 reports. One more time. Not pulling up what it was earlier. Here we go. So we're seeing that there's a 1.25 month supply. They're selling for 2% over. And then this is where this last part here. In the last year, the prices have been staying stable, but we're seeing that here they're right around that 7, but you see there's this little spring up here. As far as average price, that's the thing. Now, if you're just doing single family,
the townhouses.
It's townhouses, okay?
Yes.
Townhouses.
3 level with basement.
Yeah. So we just see that, it's 568, 583, 583, 585. It's pretty stable. So, I mean, you can see what's going on with that market. And this is it's not the last 30 days, but it is May. And so I would be basing it on, you're not seeing a huge drop here. So, kind of battle for, it's a 1 month supply for townhouses. That's pretty tight.
Can you see June? Not yet.
No, not yet, because that data hasn't
Okay.
been released yet.
Well, Giovanna, how long has the house been on the market?
Yeah, that's a good question.
25 days.
And no offers?
No offers.
Yeah.
And no price reductions?
No
Yeah.
price reductions.
Yeah.
And how much under was your offer?
Yeah.
Well, my offer was based on the different properties have been sold in the last 2 weeks.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Mine
What was
was
the house
20,000.
listed
Right.
for?
My
What was the house
price
listed?
was 20,000 less because I'm
Okay.
not asking for any. The thing is that I'm
Yeah.
trying to align with my VA needs in order to get some program.
Got it.
If he passed that sales price, then he cannot get it.
So let's talk about this one. Now, we don't go too deep because you're still negotiating here. Okay. So I get that. But you came in 20 grand under on their counter. Was it counter back to full price or less?
My was under the
No,
20,000.
their counter offer.
Their counter offer.
No, the counter offer was he was giving me concession, like subsidy, 1% subsidy, and I guess
And keeping
from
his price.
560 to
Yeah. And keeping his price.
like $3,000 less than that.
Yeah. Okay. So so that's what I was wanting to demonstrate here is like you came in lower and now they're coming in lower than where they are. That's what's happening right now.
Yep.
And I would say, if you want, counter back again. Say, well, we're almost there, but this is what we really want, and see what happens. They're on the market 25 days, but then also look at this market here in Townhouseville. It's a 1 month supply. But if there's no other offers,
But also, in my
negotiating.
opinion, I mean, they're due for price adjustments, right?
yeah, at
And-
25 days, yeah, for
Right.
sure.
At 25 days, they do for price adjustments. So I'm trying to figure out what's the percentage off. Like, is it the Giovanna offer more than 3%
Yeah.
less? And if that's the case, then okay. So you can play hardball and say,
Well,
okay,
what are you going
then
to do
my
when you
client-
trade? Yeah, when you change
my
your price,
client-
what are you going to come down to?
Yeah. And you can say that my client is not interested. I mean, that's it. We'll wait for another one.
Yeah,
We'll
it's
see.
true. And one of the things while we were just texting back and forth, he told me, "Hey, Giovanna, just letting you know that we might have a price reduction." So he said it.
Yeah.
Right.
Lord.
But here, let me help you already.
Yeah, there you go.
my client is
I'm
ready.
helping you. Yeah,
I
I'm
took
helping you.
advantage of that and I just dropped the
Yeah.
price. So.
Yep, I dropped it for you.
Yeah. But
Giovanna-
it is interesting. So this is what's happening right now in this market is that we are starting to I've had to coach a few agents on how to do a counter. And at first I was
Never
like,
done it before.
you don't have it right. That's the thing. I was like, yeah.
I'm
We've
still
never had
trying
a
to,
counter for 4 years, and so
I'm still
having to
trying
coach.
to get past this listing agent telling Giovanna the offer as submitted was insulting, and then within a short period of time saying, well, we're considering a
Yeah.
price reduction.
No,
I mean,
actually, he
this is
sent that
why-
text before. No, he
Right,
sent that
right,
text
okay.
before.
Yeah.
Before
there you
I
go.
sent the offer.
Yeah. So
Giovanna, I have a question for you. Have you